Okay, we're probably going to kick this off. We have some attendees on the call as well, which is great, and hopefully some people can join us after. So thanks for everybody for joining us today. You can see that I'm the only one next to a lovely swimming pool. I wish. The topic of conversation today is with the end of the third-party cookie, how should media publishers refine their strategy and adapt their tech stack? Just a few housekeeping rules for everybody on the call. If I could kindly ask that everybody remains on mute, and any questions that anyone has, can you please post them in the chat box, and I'll try to surface them throughout the course of the session. Just a bit of introduction about myself. So my name is Phil Raby, as you can see on the screen. My background is, for the last 12 to 15 years, been in marketing and tech, including the likes of Microsoft, Criteo, and Quill. I'm currently working with Mediarithmics in the UK from a sales and marketing perspective. I'll let Gregoire introduce Mediarithmics and what they do. We have some lovely panelists with us today. And to kick off the session, we're going to do a bit of a round table and get each of those panelists, so Fabien, Emeric, and Gregoire, to do a bit of an introduction about who they are, and then also their businesses and what those businesses do. So Fabien, did you want to kick off?
Yeah. So hello everyone. So my name is Fabien Magalon. So I've been working in media and digital advertising for 20 years soon, next year, 20 years. So I'm managing director of Alliance Gravity. So Alliance Gravity is an audience and media platform, which is owned by a group of telco, e-commerce, and media companies. We are the largest data alliance in France, with like close to 20 million logged users, 45 million user profiles, and 250 websites that participate to the alliance. We are now a 3-year-old company. So we started like right before GDPR got implemented. And so we are a team of 15 people and run rate around 10 million euros.
Great, thanks for that. Emeric, do you want to give everybody a bit of an introduction?
Yes, so Emeric, I've been working in data and digital domain for 7 years. I'm currently working for Webedia, so we are an online digital company which is based on producing content around the movie, around very strong vertical, very focused, movie industry, gaming industry, food industry, and press industry. And for us, what it means producing content, it means trying to engage communities around systematics on all the possible digital assets. So it means we own classic press websites like Allociné in France, which is about movie, or Movie Pro in Germany. And in the meantime, we own a talent agency to produce content on Twitch or YouTube, and we aim to help industry to do both things, two things. Help them with their media planning by broadcasting pubs for ads for them, and as well give them services. Just for example, in terms of in the movie as well, we diversify, and we will edit tech tools like a website for movie distributors. So yes.
Okay, thanks for that. Gregoire?
Yes, so Gregoire Frémiot, one of the two co-founders of Mediarithmics. So I've just created the company to help him on sales, marketing, clients. So Mediarithmics, we are a tech data marketing tech SaaS provider, and we been built 7 years ago. So our mission is to help our clients to have a solid data marketing infrastructure. So people sometimes name it DMP, sometimes it's CDP, whatever the name, whatever the trend. What we want is to help them having tech backbone that is really flexible and that is able to address all of the use cases. And so with this positioning, our two main kind of clients are media and retailers. So the ones having the largest set of data and that are competing against the big American platforms. And so really pleased for all of you to be here. Really pleased to be the tech supplier of Webedia and Alliance Gravity. Thanks a lot for you to be there. We'll address a complex topic where the truth is really hard to find and to claim. So what we'll try to do is to share some existing initiatives, existing view of experts with thanks a lot Fabien, thanks a lot Emeric, and also thanks a lot to all of you to raise all of your questions, because as the topic is not easy and the truth is hard to find, don't hesitate to challenge us and give you feedback.
Absolutely. The more questions, the better. Thank you for that, guys. Just a bit of context about the session. So third-party cookies have obviously been a topic of discussion for a number of years. Safari and Firefox have already phased out third-party cookies from a browser point of view. Google have recently announced that they will also be phasing out third-party cookies over the next 2 years to be completed by 2022. And this is a huge shift for the industry and is important as Chrome makes up circa 60% of the browser market. Because of this, both advertisers and publishers need to adapt to a third-party cookieless world. So with that in mind and leading into the first question and for the benefit of the audience, and we're going to take a step back here almost, the first question is, what is a third-party cookie and what is it primarily used for? I'll open up this question to Fabien, if that's okay.
Sure. So I'll answer what it is used for, and I'll let someone else answer what it is. So for third-party cookies, it's been the backbone of the advertising industry for a while. It's used, and I think it's been summarized, by many great experts in the past. So these are not my words, and I think it's a good summary. It's used for 3 main objectives. One is frequency capping. So basically controlling the number of ads exposure per user. Second is, and probably one of the most important one, is measurement. So measuring the efficiency of any ad campaign and tracking conversion and attributing conversions to the right channel and the right media and the right campaign and the right ad, etc. That basically allows all the great optimization we can do in digital advertising. And third, which is what we do mainly at Gravity, is basically building profiles and building audiences based on many different variables, but mainly browsing behavior, and that is I think a fourth option, but it's also part of the third one, is about activating these targeting audiences. So it's basically a very important solution that we've all been using for more than a decade now.
Long time. And Gregoire, or Emeric, do you have anything else to add there?
Yes, maybe more to come back from the technical definition, even if I'm not sure it will be very accurate. But so basically, in your browser, the browser allows a website to write different objects that can be useful for that can help the website to work. For example, in this kind of space, it's here that you stock some kind of token that enable a user to keep his password in the storage. And so, especially what is a third-party cookie, and I think if you want to define third-party cookie, we need to define what is the first-party cookie. So for features reason, the browser, they will not let anyone access all of these cookies. So it means, for example, for one website like Allociné, the principle is if Allociné writes a cookie that is useful for him, the idea is not letting another website access this cookie. So basically, so the first part, so this kind of cookies, I call it first-party cookies. It means that you store information, you have information stored at a website level, at the domain level, and you can only access them if you are on the domain level. And the particularity of a third-party cookie is that it is cross-domain. So it means that to answer the need that Fabien described, it means that if I am on Allocine and I store a cookie in a third-party cookie, it means that if on a different website from my ecosystem, I will be able to access the same the same cookie value as it. And I think to complete what Fabien says, what is I think very important to understand is third-party cookie. It's useful in terms of retargeting for cross-domain retargeting. It's useful in terms of analytics for cross-domain analytics. But besides that, you still have, I would say, a first-party cookie on which you have you can still do analytics and retargeting, but more on a single website domain.
Yeah, and I will not add anything on what Fabien and Eric told, as it was completely true. Maybe if I want to add new things, it would be cookies, third-party cookies concern web and web mobile. On the application landscape, they still but even if there's some new features of Apple that could make also this world evolving, and also it does not concern the logged-in environment, but I think we'll deep dive on it later on. So, so of course it will have a big change, but the change for now is limited to web and web mobile world. And for the small story, what is funny is Fabien gave a good definition, of course, of that, is that the third-party cookie was not at the beginning created for audience creation and advertising. It was created for retargeting. And I'm not, I don't have any insider at Google or Apple to know why this third-party cookie disappeared, but maybe with legacy concern, maybe also with some bad behaviors of some players, public opinion wanted more clarity or put some pressure on the navigators. So that's why different navigators decided to change the way they change the things that were possible on third-party cookies. But what is sure is that these changes will have a large impact on the advertising ecosystem.
Sure. So what you're saying is, I guess one of the reasons that they're looking to phase it out is because of bad actors. Are there any other reasons why the third-party cookie is being phased out by browsers outside of bad actors? Fabien?
Well, I think so. I don't know. It all starts. I think like browsers, like any other companies, they are in a competitive landscape and they all try to own, to win back market share from each other. And it looks like Firefox always was on the on the privacy angle of marketing their solution. More recently, Safari and the whole Apple product suite decided that privacy was was a mandatory solution, part of all of their devices. So I don't know. I'm sure that the regulators have the user privacy in mind when they look into the the regulation around the cookie users, and I'm pretty sure that the browsers are in a market share war. And basically, since Firefox and Safari, for different reasons, decided they needed to phase out third-party cookies, my guess is that Chrome didn't really have any other option and had to move into the same direction. Also for Chrome, it's more because of the huge Google advertising business. For Chrome, it was probably the last option they looked into. But to be honest, I don't know. Like, it's just, all of this is just guesses.
Sure. And Emeric, did you have any thoughts on that?
I think it answers a global trend where people are asking for more privacy, transparency, and accountabilities. Some actors had the very rogue approaches, and I won't quote anyone in the US or in France, but some people, I think, went too far at some point. The regulators and as well browser, I think they decided in terms of product, they should do something.
Sure. Okay. And then what impact, not specifically your businesses, but what impact will this have generally on the sector from an advertising or marketing perspective? Grégoire?
Your sound is off, Grégoire.
You're on mute.
So I forgot what I was going to say. That's fine. I think that what is called the walled garden, meaning the big American platforms, to think about them, that of course logged in, will, with this initiative, become stronger because they already have a lot of data, and they will keep the level of data that they have, because if you want to use a browser, if you want to use a service like an email service or a social network service, you logged in with a lot of consent. And so these players will not see any impact on the ability to target, and their competitors, with most of them that were on a non-logged in environment, will lose the ability to target. So this is a generic trend, yeah, this could be a threat, but there will be a lot of initiative to try to balance this.
And Fabien, did you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's a good bet that the walled gardens will take advantage, or will make their position even stronger. I think Emeric is right when he mentioned that one of the key benefits of third-party cookies that it has cross-domain capacities. And when you think about Facebook or YouTube, it's like single site, it's siloed solution. So that's what we call walled gardens. So in that context, they don't really need cross-domain features. And as Grégoire just mentioned, they actually usually log all of their users, so they already have a lot of their information available. It will, I think it's not entirely true that it won't impact them, because they don't only have siloed advertising solution. They also run some sort of both of them, some sort of ad networks that more or less will be impacted also by this. But for sure, their key core product will not be impacted. And we already knew that it was already a very strong solution in terms of accuracy and reach. And the rest of the web, the 20%, the thousands of companies that fight for the rest of the advertising market, they will have to invent new ways to solve the three problems that third-party cookies was solving. So find new ways to frequency cap, to measure effectiveness of their campaign, and to build audiences and target users. So that's the stage, that's where we are right now. And I think that's what we're going to discuss next is now, like, okay, what are our options, and can we remain competitive in that in that new world?
Sure. And Emeric, did you have any comments to add there?
Yes, I would say yes. So because of the cross-domain limitation, it means that it will be more difficult to track the efficiency of ads from different websites. It will be more difficult to retarget people. So I think it will benefit. I mean, if I want to take a concrete example for why it benefits the walled garden, maybe, for example, for YouTube, their business is around the video format, and the video format, it's a very nice quality format. So it means even if it's more difficult for to evaluate the efficiency of this format, this format is working. So for them, it's easier to sell ads with this format than a random website in Webedia. The second point is, for example, Facebook, even if for them, because even if their CPM inside is smaller because they have a lot of people, and because their ads are more like close to the end of the funnel, for them it's easier to send a lot of ads and get some revenue base and conversion. So for this reason, I think yes, because of the size and specificity of the product, yes, this situation is good for them.
Sure.
And for us, it will be difficult to both work on the two topics, retargeting and to justify, oh, our doing ads on our website is bringing this value to you. And it's especially the second point, this is very concerning for us at Webedia.
Okay, thanks for that. And look, from your perspective, you know, Fabian and Emmerich, from Alliance Data Media Gravity and Webedia, you know, how did your businesses anticipate or prepare for the upcoming changes in third-party cookies? And then Gregor, I'll almost ask you a separate question is, you know, what are you seeing from your side from a tech point of view with media publishers and advertisers as well? So Fabian, did you want to kick off from your side?
Sure. So, so first, I think we've been, to answer your question shortly, we've been preparing about that for a while, or we are still actually working on this right now. And it's, you know, one of the, you know, long-term, you know, product, let's say long-term focus of our product team is to, you know, build, you know, audience targeting solutions that don't rely on cookies, on third-party cookies. And also the way we, you know, we try to channel our efforts is that we mainly focus on audience qualification and audience targeting. Like we don't try to solve measurement or frequency capping, like we leave that to others to solve, to be honest. We just focus on building great audiences and targeting these audiences in a cookieless environment. So first point I think is that we look at the, you know, the evolution of third-party cookies in two phases really. One is the one we're into right now, which is a slow, you know, or let's put it this way, a growing scarcity of third-party cookies. Like we have, and it's mainly pushed by the regulators. Like we had you mentioned it, Firefox, Safari, like we've already lost 30% of third-party cookies, you know, as of today. Next big drop is expected to come from the, you know, in French, it's so from the French DPA, which is called CNIL. Like we expect them to publish a new directive, so like their new basically proposal in the coming month, very likely in September, and they will give us like 6 months to implement it. And the expectation of their new, you know, recommendation is that we will see a consent rate drop from, you know, what it is currently to a third of what it is currently. So basically we were at 100, then now we're at 60. Like we expect not to be at 0, but like early next year we'll have maybe 25% of all third-party cookies that we used to have, you know, available. So that's phase one. And it's basically the same phase because it's just managing scarcity, but we still have third-party cookies. And then phase two is whenever that happens, like you mentioned, it's in 2 years. It's actually, it was in 2 years, 6 months ago. So now it's in 18 months, who knows actually. And that's a second phase, you know, that requires different solutions. So now what are the solutions? So we try to have a very, organized approach. So right now we don't believe like there is a silver bullet that can solve, you know, targeting and qualification. Our vision is that there are multiple solutions on the table, and we are exploring, you know, we try to explore all of them. So the first one we've implemented is one that is actually focused on working very efficiently during phase one. Like, what happens when we only have 20% or a third of the users that we could target? So we built something that we call predictive media planning. It's basically a solution that is actually already live right now and that we've been testing, you know, many times already. That is actually doing great results both in terms of reach and in terms of accuracy and efficiency, but has a major problem is that it's not going to live beyond you know, the extinction of cookies. So predictive media planning, it's basically, you know, taking whatever is left in terms of third-party cookies and using that as a gigantic panel, and, you know, and try to use basically third-party cookies as a way to, to model, to build models, but then you use just basic URLs or device or, whatever to activate. So it's basically, it's cookieless in the sense that you don't need cookies to target, but it's full cookie, 100% cookies in the modeling system. So great solution when there is scarcity of cookies and that is already available. And so that gives us basically room to prepare the rest in 18 months, 2 years, who knows. So the other solution we see, and that we're only working on right now, so I can't really elaborate, to be honest, massively about it. One is we look, of course, a lot into contextual and all the nuances of contextual, like we believe there is still a lot of room to innovate in contextual. Contextual can be incredibly well targeted and efficient, but sometimes lacks reach, but you can also like make, very strong reach with maybe lower accuracy of contexts, but then lower accuracy and performance of campaigns. So like that's precisely what we're working on, is like, how do we manage to find the right balance between reach and accuracy in the contextual targeting. We look, of course, into a lot, basically switching our model entirely into first-party cookies. And basically, rather than building this third-party, cross-domain, great data set, what about building siloed first-party alliance and like building a, a unique taxonomy across 250 websites that, like, it's not amazing, but I think it drives a lot of value for advertiser to unify taxonomy, unify the targeting option per publishers. Of course, we look at what sounds like an amazing product, but I think is very difficult to scale, especially in the media companies world, is the persistent IDs, so email, address, phone numbers. Like basically, can we switch from a third-party cookie to an ID that is even much stronger than a cookie? Problem here again, I think, is really that, especially in the media environment, the scale is really small right now, and we don't see. Although we expect publishers to start building this new muscle, like I don't think. My guess is that it will not be at a significant scale within 2 years, unfortunately, and fifth option is Privacy Sandbox, which is a really, I think, intellectually interesting solution that seems like it's ticking all the boxes, like privacy friendly, incredible reach, and maybe accuracy. We'll see, we'll find out. Problem, I think, with Privacy Sandbox is that we don't know much about it. We might spend tons of time on GitHub and try to read all the documentation. We still are in a very unknown phase. Although I think I heard like first tests are happening right now. So that's how we see the option. Like there are, and maybe there are more. To be honest, I'm pretty sure there are more, and we are very humble here. Like we don't know everything. We look at it with these 5 options, and our intention is to like go one option after the other, try to own it, be able to build something internally around it. And then our vision is that in the future, we will be able to sell audiences using probably multiple, maybe 2, 3, 4 of these options to deliver, good campaigns to our customers.
Sure. Okay, thanks for that. Super insightful. Emeric, what about yourself from a web media standpoint? How have you approached this? I guess this situation with a third-party cookieless world.
So maybe the first point. So maybe we are wrong about that, but because we are, even before the start, even before this threat and the third-party cookies, our idea is building communities that are big enough. Building communities in very specific domain. So, for example, around movies, our idea is if we are big enough in the movie industry, in terms of movie audiences, we can, even if we are still small, besides Facebook, we can compete because we are complementary. So for us, even without third-party cookies, worst case situations, we still hope in terms of product development strategy, we still bet that our contextual will be strong enough to still convince people to buy ads on our website. So that's the first point, but besides that, of course, we have a lot of revenue streams that depends on third-party cookies. And so I would say, I will first tell you what we started to do last year, and then what are our plans for what we are doing this year, and what are the plans for what are our future plans. So last year, and 2 years ago, last year, we noticed that we began to add, of course, less reach with our third-party retargeting. So for me, concretely, for us, we are using it in it has two impacts for us. First one is we operate some kind of campaign based on you watch this movie on Allociné, we are going to retarget you on all Webedia. And the second point was for the socio-demographic part. We tried to work with third-party data providers so they could provide us socio-demographic cookies we would retarget on our ecosystem. So for these third-party data providers, we noticed that yes, even if some of them provide us with good data, we did not. The reach was not here. So in reaction, last year we did two things. We started to work more on the context. So small short-term situation, we started to work more on a contextual approach. So a first example I can give you is it's not about media targeting, but it's more about BI tools we are selling to movie distributors. We are providing them with the socio-demographic analysis that are based on third-party data. So this third-party data, it's too small to get a reach to retarget people, but it's big enough to give some insight, some very useful insight to the movie industry. So based on this fact, our idea is now to move to use, I would say, to try to we will work on so I think we should consider third-party data or logging data not as just cookies you are going to retarget or people you are going to retarget, but it's more like some kind of panel you use to extrapolate, to interpolate insights on different population. Then you can reach with other ways with bigger reach, like contextual. What Fabian's some approach mentioned by Fabian. I think we are working on the same one as well. With Mediarithmics, we're starting to use browser sign capacity that enable us to do first-party retargeting. So we have approach with which we can have a bigger reach. But our issue is you firstly have to find a data apple that helps us to start from a small panel and then be able to extrapolate this to different targeting abilities. So we started to work on that last year by doing I would say tactical actions. And what we did as well last year, we starting to revamp our data analytics ecosystem. We changed our DMP/CDP provider to get a new tool that will help us to do two things: be better for activation, and the second thing is to be better at knowing our audiences.
Sure.
And yeah. I just wanted to add one last point. I think the last change we identified to be complementary is for us. I mean about Webedia as a website. We still need to, even if you have approach with which we are interpolating audiences, we still need to find ways to collect data, this kind of panel data. And so for us, for this, you can rely on sign-in users, but we still plan to rely on the third-party cookies as well. And for us, so it means we'll still have, for us, the remaining challenge is what are going to be the future options for us to be able to share, to get data from us, to get external data. Yes. And so to sum up for us, and in terms of strategy for us, the focus is at Webedia is knowing our audiences and working with technological vendors that will help us to understand the evolution of the ecosystem. And I mean, for example, at Webedia, we are not working on understanding how the Google Privacy Sandbox is going to work, but we rely on working with a tech provider to help us to use the adequate solution.
Sure, understood, and very interesting as well. Greg, well, you see it from a number of sides. You see it, being in the middle from a tech provider point of view, and you view it from, I guess, a publisher or a media publisher and an advertiser point of view. Can you give a little bit of a viewpoint from your perspective?
Yeah. When we listened to Emeric and Fabien, we saw that there are some really smart initiatives and many different initiatives to try to find out the good solution. And unfortunately, for the ones who attend the meeting trying to have the good unique solution that will be the good one for everyone in 2 years, unfortunately, there is not. But at the same time, even if it's difficult, even if we don't really know what will be the best solution or the best solution for one publisher, I think it's really key. It's really key because I think that advertisers will continue to want some targeted campaigns or to find the good audience, to measure the efficiency of campaigns. The end users, I'm not sure that the end user will accept to pay for a service, for a service that today is free. So in a way, even if today they have ad block, etc., they will be forced one day to accept the fair deal of providing data with consent for accessing free content. So I mean, it's key, and I think that this evolution with also with GDPR would be a kind of strategic moment for publishers, with some publishers that could stay at the same level or become bigger, and maybe some that would have some difficulties to keep up. And when we look at Webedia or Alliance Gravity, it's really strong publishers or growth publishers that have a lot of skills. Mm. And if you will listen to advertisers, they want to have alternatives to the big platform. Big platforms are great, but when you listen to advertisers or agencies, they are keen of having alternative solutions. So our mission at Mediarithmics is to try to answer all the good ideas that people like Fabien or Emeric could have. And also, if we can, try to anticipate them by providing a tool. What is sure is that at Mediarithmics, I couldn't give a generic solution to the end of third-party cookies. The solution might be different between someone coming from the retail media, someone being a data alliance between publishers, someone being really strong in verticals like Webedia, and I could tell you examples. It's also a context where we could imagine new things, and so it's hard, but let's be optimistic because there's still an appetite for alternative to Google, Facebook, and Amazon. Here we speak about data, but the brands that Fabien represents, the brands that Emeric represent, they also have the brand safety and stuff. You will speak. I will let you speak about it because you will speak better than I. And so it's key to investigate multiple solutions, having a solution, having a tech partner that could help you to investigate multiple things at the same time. Not only one solution, because it could be a dead end. Sorry. So of course we're working on edge computing, so local storage, browser side. We're working on advanced contextual targeting. We're working on predictive scoring. We're working on helping publishers to log in because they don't have only one business. A lot of publishers have a subscription model on top of it. And in a way, it's a good occasion for them to try to push subscription. So we try to have a platform that is agile and versatile enough to address the different needs in a world that is really hard to predict.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. And as I said at the top of the session today, these changes are coming in pretty quickly. As Fabien corrected me kindly, they're 18 months away. I guess the question I have, or the final question I have for you guys is, will publishers broadly be ready for these changes by 2022? And I guess what will be the key challenges in being ready? From some of the answers you've given me today, there seems to be a lot of potential implementation or selection of technology to be able to be ready. So I'll put this question out to Fabien first, if that's okay. Oh, you're on mute, Fabien.
Yeah, so I was coughing, so that was bad. Yeah, will they be ready? Probably some will be ready, some will not be ready. I think the one that will be that have the better chances to to take advantage of that shift are the publishers that already have a very large amount of logged users. I think that the point Emeric made was interesting. Like when you are an incredibly verticalized, when you're a leader in a very specific vertical, I think you can, like you've been selling already basically contextual, like your vertical is already your key product. When you're more of a generalist publisher, less verticalized, I think these ones will be the one that will have the best chance to take advantage of the situation are the one that will have a large percentage of their users logged in. As I mentioned, I think it's a very long road, and not everyone will manage to to make that shift from free content, entirely free content, to either a data wall or a subscription or a paywall. So for the other publishers, I think that the one that will that will manage to take advantage of the situation are the tech savvy ones, the one that will invest in the right people and the right technologies. So people, I'm thinking, that engineers, data science, like it's getting more and more complicated. Like just getting to understand privacy sandbox is really complicated right now, and you need to put very smart people in front of the content. And everything we've mentioned earlier about predictive media planning, or even doing good stuff with contextual, is all relying on some sort of data science, being machine learning or natural language processing. So I think having in-house this kind of resources, of course, is an advantage to survive the shift. And lastly, but I might be a little biased in that point of view. I think that alliances, will matter. Like in that context where basically, in summary, data will be more and more scarce. There is a very strong benefit at putting or mutualizing data and basically compensating that scarcity by building alliances. Yeah, so that's how I see it.
Thanks for that. Great. Emeric, did you have anything to add there in terms of, I guess, how publishers will rise to this challenge, and what you kind of foresee for the next couple of years or year and a half?
Yes, at least 2 points. So the first one is, I think for 2022, publishers can be ready in terms of technology and organizations. But of course, it will. I mean, if you're good enough, I think you can be ready at it. And to add, Fabian ended with Alliance. And I think at Webedia, what you think about Alliance, it's not just about Alliance of publisher, but it means that I don't think we should be looking for one offer that will work for a lot of people. But I think we should work on besides that, we have to work on a specific offer for specific customers. Of course, it means that the customer has to be big enough. But I think and what's difficult with it is first, you need good engineers, but as well you need the good technical account manager. You need your sales, your customer success manager. You cannot just provide them with a method. You sell it, but no, you have to be able to understand the customer ecosystem to build something that works for both. So it was my first point. And the second point, I think the biggest challenge I see at Webedia, so it's not about this technical part on which we are working on, but it's more about the product. It's for us, it's about, can you gather specific communities that are big enough and from which you can derive knowledge, and that's an offer. So, I mean, all the contextual approach we are trying to have, the contextual approach Fabien is trying to have, I think it's because on our website, we have content that help us to segmenting the audiences. So, and without that, it will be difficult to work. And it was the last point, the other point from Fabien. Yes, it's about the logging. I mean, is your product worth registration and handout data? I think for us, for me, the biggest point for a publisher, that's not there's a technical part, but it's really this product part. I mean, it's
yeah, and it would be easy for me to say that for the biggest stake for a publisher would be take a good technology, but that might be wrong. Of course, they need to take a good technology, but they need to have skills to be able to do things on their own, to be able to bring value by their own. If you looked at Alliance Gravity, or yesterday that was Channel 4 that was speaking, they had their own internal team that create the value. The value of this kind of publishers, this kind of alliance, is not only the data, it's not only the media, it's a global product, it's an overall product, and it's also what is have been created by Webedia. So it's really important to have the team with the skills, and on top of that, having a good technology. But in a way, publishers, in my mind, could not be the middle, being having a bit of data, having a technology that manages everything very easily. Unfortunately, that's the end of this role. Now you need to select, or you're just a small publisher just selling some web pages, or you are one of the big marketing and advertising services. Yeah.
Thanks for that. And that kind of concludes my questions and my harassing the panel. Does anybody from the audience have any questions they'd like to surface? I think I do have one here, actually. Any other questions, please send to me and I'll surface them now. So this is from Alex from Mexico. As a publisher with 9 vertical sites, is it a good idea to start implementing a DMP with the view of creating first-party data?
Do you prefer the sales guy or do you prefer the publisher? I will let the publisher answer.
I'll let the publisher go first, actually. So let's go with Fabien.
Yes, probably a good idea. Also, I mean, the first-party data will remain available and in a third-party cookie-less world. So building a very strong first-party data solution is, I think is a solution that needs to be looked into by any publishers. Benefits and or pros and cons of first-party data. I think the main cons is the scale. Like it's data built in a siloed environment, and that can only be activated in a siloed environment. So scale is a concern, but if you have a very strong homepage that is not entirely categorized with tons of volume, it's interesting to categorize your users from your finance section and be able to target them on your homepage. So short answer, yes, of course, you should look into it.
So that's a resounding yes. I've got another question here, which I'll put up to both the publishers on the call. This is from Juan. As a publisher network without logged in customers, what would you say would be the best way to monetize user data? So they don't have logged in customers. Emmerich, do you want to pick this one up?
Yes. So I mean, it really depends for the business of your website, but just at Webedia, on a lot of our websites, we don't have any logged in user customers, so it's just we have a strategy without it, and I mean, it would be better for us if we would have more logged in users, but we are still fine without it. So, but sorry, I don't have a magic solution without context. But I think it's difficult to because at Webedia, between our different websites, I think we have a very different. The strategy is different from one vertical to another. It really depends from the. If I want to give some, some examples. Having for on some websites, you have websites which only based on general news. on other websites, for example, like I keep talking about the movie industry, but on some website, we have of movie website, we have website about news, and as well we have website about that are about just listing movie page. So sorry, I would say sorry, I don't have magic solution. It really depends on the context. I mean, you have a different approach, and yes.
Did Fabien or Gregoire, did you want to add in there?
Of course, I don't know the website, so I will take one example. Imagine that you have one domain with some generic news section speaking about coronavirus, so it'll be a bit hard to monetize. And you also have in the same domain real estate ads, really easy to monetize. There's a solution without third-party cookies, to segment your audience thanks local storage other side. Meaning that people that will have seen, that saw the real estate announcement will be pushed to the ad server as people, and on the next page speaking about coronavirus, you could still target these people with a good ad of, I don't know, a real estate agency. So that's an example of solution. Is it the best solution for every kind of need? No, but for each situation, there might be potentially some solution.
Okay, thanks for that. We don't have any other questions from the audience, it looks like. I guess when I actually have one question for you guys, and then we'll wrap it up. So you talk a lot about, and from a publisher point of view, you talk about resource and having the right people in-house to be able to, get to or overcome this challenge in the next couple of years. Typically, this data scientists and this type of resource generally they're expensive, or generally they go to some of the bigger publishers like Facebook and Google and get poached straight out of university to do so. How do you overcome the challenges as a publisher to try to recruit these people into your organization ahead of a Facebook or a Google? Fabien?
Well, so I don't know if there is a scarcity of these profiles. Like I think, to be honest, there are a lot of very strong engineering schools in France, and every year there is a very large number of smart students on the market, and there is not enough room at Facebook and Google to hire all of them. So, no, I think let's put it this way. Like we use a number of websites to to recruit the engineers and the data scientists, like specialized websites, and where basically we have to recruit the people. Like they don't send us an email. Like we've got to get in touch and say, hey, would you like to work for us, please, or would you please have an interview with us? And no, I think what's funny, we just noticed that again this morning, like we find a really good CV and a great candidate, but she specifically mentioned in her profile that she doesn't want to work in digital marketing. And I think that's the new world we live in. Like digital marketing is not popular, and my concern is that the smartest brain don't want to spend time trying to get people to click on an ad anymore. So, no, I think, to be honest, at our scale, again, I mentioned we're a team of 15 people, and maybe Emmerich is a different story because Webedia is a huge company, and maybe at some point you reach like a level where it's more and more difficult to recruit. At our scale, we still manage to recruit the right people. It takes time, and but there is still great profiles out there.
And Emmerich, just quickly for you, is it easy to find the right people for Webedia?
It's not easy, but I think the key point is I don't think we compete with Facebook. I don't think Fabien or I are trying to hire the same kind of people that would be good at Webedia, at Facebook. As I think in the media industry, especially with all the budget constraints we have, I think we need people with agile mind that are both good and are appetent at business and technical. I don't need the best IT engineer in the world working for Webedia. I will let Mediarithmics compete with Facebook for this kind of profile. But so the first point is know what you want to hire, and I think that with this kind of very
Good to know. Okay, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you to the lovely panel, Fabien, Emeric, and Gregoire as well. Thank you very much for everybody joining. And thank you for some of those that you asked questions as well. I hope you enjoyed the content.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Moment.